What's up, everybody? It's your boy Joey Work from Run Pure Bets. I'm back. The countdown to MLB is continuing, 9 days and counting. This is video 3 of 6 for my division previews. I brought another friend with me. Today, we got the NL East. We're going to talk about. I got my guy, Steve Armato. He's a member of GameDay MLB, previously D1 baseball player. Currently, he's a high-level entrepreneur. He works for multiple professional athletes, so I'm very excited for the show. What's up, Steve? How you been, bro?
I've been great, Joe. That was quite the intro, to be honest with you. Wasn't expecting all that. I really appreciate the kind words. But yeah, I've been great. How you been?
Yeah, can't complain, man. I'm ready for baseball season, that's for sure. This is my second full baseball season where we run pure bets, and we've been won a lot of money last year, to say the least. So I hope to continue that, and I'm working hard to do that.
Yeah, I love it. I love everything you do. You know, I've been following you on Twitter for a while, and I'm pumped that you had me on. I'm really excited for this.
Awesome. All right, so let's get right into it. Basically, I'll introduce a team. We talk about it. We'll get our thoughts on the team, under, over, win totals, division winning odds, and anything else betting-wise that shoots out at us. So first team I got in the NL East is the Atlanta Braves. So the Braves, they're young, loaded with a lot of the same talent as last year. Rotation added Charlie Morton from the Rays and Drew Smiley. Plus, obviously, Ian Anderson was a beast, especially down the end of the last year. I know he broke out during basically the playoffs. I gave out a lot of his overs and Ks. They kept hanging the line at like 5.5, 6.5, 7.5. And I gave that out to a lot of Run Pure Bet subscribers. And we backed that and cashed multiple times, especially in the playoffs. Obviously, Max Fried is back, and they should get Mike Soroka in a couple weeks. Lineup filled with young talent. They averaged 5.8 runs per game last year, second to only the Dodgers. Obviously, Acuna, Dansby Swanson, who was kind of like a disappointment until last year. He played well, and then he switched positions with Ozzie Albies, who was really took a step back last year. Freddie Freeman, reigning NL MVP. Last year of his contract, so that's pretty exciting. I expect a good season from him. They re-up Marcell Ozuna, who was the NL leader in home runs and RBIs last year. And now it looks like prospect Christian Pache will be the starter on opening day for the outfield. He's a superior defender. The question mark is really in his bat. And they got, obviously, Travis d'Arnaud. He's the catcher. He batted .321, 9 home runs, 34 RBIs last year. Bullpen is interesting. It does return a lot of the names from last year. Closer, I guess, is up for grabs, but it looks like Will Smith's going to win the job out of camp. He's going to be splitting the role probably with Chris Martin, depending on matchups. They'll be joined by A.J. Minter, Grant Dayton, and Josh Tomlin, and Tyler Matzik. They all pitched well last year, and they had the fourth lowest bullpen ERA in 2020. Total wins, I'm seeing 91.5, juice to the under, -120. This team did win 97 games back in 2019, but I think the NL East is getting better and better. I think there's 4 teams that possibly could win this division. So I do lean under, but I'm off of it. And then the Braves are +150 to win the NL East, which is somewhat appealing, but I'm probably not going to make a play on it. What do you think about the Braves, Steve?
So I think the Braves are it's close because you're right. The rest of the division did get better, but I do think the Braves are still going to win the division. I don't find a lot of value in betting the over-under win totals because everything's -110. So I find the value in the division winner. The Braves currently to win the division, points bet, I got it on yesterday, was +115. They're still my pick to win the division. Also, one thing I want to talk about with them is they added a guy that's a depth piece. Now, I know this isn't going to like change the scope of your team, but in the NL, they lose the DH this year. And now you added Jake Lamb, who is 2 years removed from like a 29. I believe, here we go. I got it right here. He's 2 years removed from a 30 homer, 105 RBI season. You have a guy like that on your bench that gives you depth now. He's pinch hitting late in games. I think that this team got better, like very slightly, and they were already ahead of the rest of the division. So I'm still going to take them to win the division this year. They brought back Ozuna. Ozuna, one of my favorite players in the league. I actually would throw a little juice on him futures-wise to lead the league in RBIs because just that lineup to me is scary good. I think Acuna is going to win the MVP this year, and I think that's my pick to win the East. And when we talk over on the win total, I like over, but I like it slightly over. So I don't feel great either way about it. I think 92, 93 wins. That's how I feel about this team. I think bullpen, Will Smith is good, still a little bit some question marks there. But all in all, I still think best team in the division, and they're going to win the NL East, in my opinion.
All right, I like it. So I didn't really expect that, being that you're a Mets fan, but I like it.
Well, here's the thing. I'm a Mets fan, but you have to be cautious when they're supposed to be good. Everybody knows this. I know we have new ownership. I understand that. We made some nice offseason additions this year, which I'm sure we're going to talk about in a minute or two. But I still think the Braves are just slightly better than them. And I'm also going to get into some of the other teams that made some improvements. And if you want to go Mets right now, I'm ready to roll on them because they're a conundrum to me. Yeah. I don't think they're a finished product, dude.
I mean, you're the Mets fan. I'll let you go first on this one. Let's talk about the Mets.
Well, here's my thing with the Mets. They added Lindor via trade, which that was, to me, highway robbery. But if you don't re-sign him, then you got issues there. But Lindor, I think he's going to be great. He's getting hot at the end of spring training, which to me is absolutely perfect. That's when you want to start seeing guys get hot, late in spring training, right when the season rolls around. Great add in McCann. And part of the Lindor trade that I think a lot of people are forgetting about is Carlos Carrasco. Now, he's out 6 to 8 weeks. That hurts them. For the main reason that hurts them early on, especially, is because Noah Syndergaard is already out until we don't really know when. So that leaves you with DeGrom, Stroman, Peterson, and then you're talking like Joey Lucchesi and Ty Walker. Those guys they're not bad, but they're not Carrasco. Carrasco is a proven veteran who's done it before. So that's my main issue with that. I think they're going to fall behind a little bit early. Now, keeping up with the Mets, my biggest worry with them has been that they lost the DH in the NL. The Mets benefited more than any team last year, and they benefited more than any team by having the DH because we saw Dom Smith have a breakout year. Sure, it was only 60 games, but the guy was a doubles machine, hit for power, he drove in runs. Now we're taking a guy who is a first baseman. He's always been a first baseman, and we're going to take him, we're going to move him to the outfield, and we're going to move him to left field. And that's just not – that transition is not easy. Everybody forgets that defense matters. Every team – the way I look at this is every team in the MLB is going to win 60 games, and they're going to lose 60 games. What you do with those other games, that fly ball that he overruns, that's going to matter. Keeping up with defense – I do not think J.D. Davis is a very good third baseman. Yeah, everyone's going to probably see this and say, oh, he made a great play and turned a double play today. I've been watching this guy play third base for 3 years. He's not a great third baseman. That's just the bottom line. Defensively, he's not. He could hit a little bit. I think a breakout years ago, and I think he's going to regress a little bit. I'm not a huge fan. If I was managing this team, what I would do is J.D. Davis would be my bat off the bench. I would take McNeil and move to third. I would have Jonathan Villar at second base. He was a sneaky good pickup. He stole 30 bases last year, I believe. And he's just been a solid baseball player. And he plays good defense and he improves them. I know they're going to do the late game replacements. And also Nemo isn't an awesome defensive center fielder, which is another thing that people also forget to look at. Nemo's not a stud center fielder. He's an on-base machine, sure, but he's not this all-world center fielder. So they made signings like Kevin Pillar and they signed Albert Almora. Great. Late game replacements. Awesome. Another big question mark is going to be the bullpen, mainly Edwin Diaz, and I'm really actually very worried about Dellin Betances. I'm worried about him. I know the velocity is always down. Last year, he was a wreck last year, and he's really not having much of a better spring. So I'm very concerned with that. So to me, defense and bullpen are the main concerns. I think that they will definitely hit. They're going to hit. I think Alonso is going to get better. I think 60 games, everyone's kind of trashing him because 60 games that is not a good sample size. That's about a third of a season. And he got hot towards the end. And you see this happen a lot. Guys go through long slumps because it's 162 games. It's a long season. Things happen. He's going to get better. He's going to be fine. You add Lindor to that lineup. This lineup is good. Dom's going to hit. Dom, Pete, Lindor, Conforto, they're going to hit. My issue is the defense and the bullpen. Their over-under win total that I have right here is 90.5. I'm going under. and their odds to win the division. Actually, if I was going to lay money on a team to win the division, I know this sounds crazy, but they have a plus 150. I like the value better than I like the Braves, but I wouldn't put a ton on it. And when I say the under 90.5, I'm not saying it's going to be way under. I just think like 87, 88, push for a wild card. There's my spiel on the Mets. I know that was a lot, but I'm passionate about this team. So
no, absolutely, I loved it. So for my end, I understand this team is definitely better than last year, but a lot of people were even saying they would win the NL East last year, and we saw how that turned out. So I want to just wait until it translates onto the field, possibly get, a in-game season, them to win the NL East, depending on how they start out and whatnot. Obviously, the rotation is really good. Syndergaard is supposedly not healthy. He's hit 96 on a gun. He is coming off Tommy John, obviously, so we'll take that with a grain of salt. But obviously, Jacob deGrom, and NL Cy Young favorite. And then, as you mentioned, they added Cookie Carrasco, Tijuana Walker. I mean, this rotation should be pretty good. Carrasco, he averages more than a strikeout per inning in his career, and he had a career high in strikeouts last year. Marcus Stroman, he obviously tore a muscle on his calf, but he looks re-energized, and I think he's going to try to prove himself. I know he's talking a lot of smack on Twitter. I'm actually blocked by him on Twitter. But
sometimes it happens, dude.
Yeah, it happens.
You just got to do it. You got to get in there and just talk to them and get blocked.
Yeah, exactly. So he can't see this video, but it is what it is. And then David Peterson, he was 6-2 last year, 3.44 ERA as a rookie, but he did have some control issues. So it's quite interesting to see who'll be at the start camp, who's going to be the 5, either Lucchesi or Jordan Yakamoto as the 5. And then obviously the offense definitely got better. Smiling Lindor. He's probably bat first or second on this team. And each of his last 2 full seasons, he had 30 homers and 20 steals, something that no Met has had since 2007 when Carlos Beltran did it. So obviously Cano gets the whole year off for cheating. That opens up the spot for Jeff McNeil, where he moves into the spot where he played mostly in the minors, second base. As you mentioned, Alonso struggled last year, but he had 10 home runs, posted 9.55 on base percentage in the last month. So, he's obviously turning things around, and 60 games obviously is a small sample size. So, and the outfield were filled with top 15 draft picks. Nimio was 13 in 2011. Tom Smith, 11 in 2013. Conforto was 10 in 2014. So all of them had pretty good 2020 campaigns. They posted top 3 on base percentage on the team. Problem with, as you mentioned, is the defense on these guys. Nimmo ranked last offensive overall defense among center fielders with at least 300 innings. And the other 2 weren't as bad, but they were considered below average outfielders. McCann shored up the catcher position. He significantly improved his pitch framing, and he's definitely getting better at the plate. 276, 25 homers in 149 games for the White Sox. Bullpen, as we mentioned, is in question. 4.60 ERA, and last year an NL worst 5.06 walks per 9 innings. They did add Trevor May, who was one of the top setup men in MLB. Hopefully they get bounced back from Dylan Betances, but it seems like you aren't too high on him. And then Familia, he's still hard to hit, but his walk rate continues to climb. So he
doesn't know where it's going, man. That's the thing with him. He's tough to hit, but he also has no idea where the ball's going. It's impossible to even watch him.
Yeah. And then, Edwin Diaz did get better last year. He threw his fastball and slider harder than ever, and he did reduce his home run rate. So possibly see some better numbers from him. All in all, I do think this is a good team. Do I think they win the NL East? As I mentioned, I think I'm going to wait to bet that. You probably get better odds if they start off slow, even after like the first 15, 20 games. I'm sure if they start out 10-10, they go 7-13, you're going to get better odds. So I'm going to wait on that. And the over-under 91, I lean under as well with you, but I'll probably end off just laying off of it. But, I always say if this team makes it to the playoffs, they're going to be scary, especially with the rotation. Like, this team will be scary if they make it to the playoffs. So that's always a question mark. But
if you get to the playoffs, though, that's the thing. If you get to the playoffs, though, now you have this year, hopefully you'll have DeGrom, Carrasco, Stroman, Syndergaard, and now Peterson's in the bullpen. You're a scary team.
Absolutely.
But you got to get there. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
On this, okay? Say the Mets start out like 8-12, right? But Carrasco's like on the way back. Syndergaard's on the way back. You get like a plus 220 on the NL East. What do you think? Are you laying the juice on them?
Yeah, plus 220. I mean, I would assume it wouldn't even be that high. I say they would probably have to wait till it gets to like 40 games for them. I would say it would maybe be plus 200, plus it would probably be around plus 180 to plus 200 if they after 20 game sample size. Once it gets to maybe 40, then it'll probably be juiced up there. But even 40 games, say they're 20 and 20 after 40 games, it's really depending on the records of the rest of the division. I mean, they probably won't be 4 or 5 games out at the most. I definitely think it's worth it.
Yeah, I think if you could get better odds in season, if they are like within that 500 to like 3 games under, and Carrasco and Syndergaard are on the way back and they're only a few out, I think that's where the odds for them to win the division get much better.
Yep, you're right. All right, well, let's get on to third in the NL East. I got the Nationals. They did win 93 games in 2019 and were crowned the World Series champs. I had them. I gave it out as a future bet, plus 1,600 for them to win the World Series, so we cashed on that. And obviously, I mean, they got Strasburg, Scherzer, Corbin. This team really gets it over the edge for beating the Phillies this year for me. And, counting on them again, another team, if you get to the playoffs, is scary. They did add John Lester as their number 4 starter. He's far from the dominating starter he was, but he's a solid back of the rotation guy. Number 5, definitely up in question. Looks like Joe Ross as of now. He has pitched quite well in spring training, but he only got 3 pitches, and he's not really someone I would count on. But as a 5-starter, I guess, you could pick his spots, and we could hit him on a couple games depending on matchup. But the bullpen, obviously, full of question marks, as is the normal with this team the last couple of years. They were 8th worst in majors, 4.68 ERA. Other than lefty Sean Doolittle, almost everyone came back from last year. Daniel Hudson looking like he'll be the setup man and flamethrower. Tanner Rainey, who had a breakout 2020, 14 Ks per 9 innings. But they did add Brad Hand, who had excellent numbers with the Indians last couple of years. So the bullpen should be a little better, but don't quote me on that. The lineup led by, obviously, Juan Soto, 4.15 on-base percentage since his debut in 2018. That's the best past anyone, past Mike Trout. He loves to take pitches, which is, I mean, I love the way he takes approaches at bat. They added power bats, Josh Bell, Kyle Schwarber, they're both expected to be in the starting lineup. And then Starlin Castro looks like he's going to retake the starter role after an injury last year. But they have 20-year-old Luis Garcia, who's basically waiting in the wings in case Castro gets hurt, or he'll probably steal at bats from him anyway. They did avoided arbitration by signing Trey Turner to a 1-year, $13 million deal. And he's also eligible again next year for arbitration, so that should add some motivation for him. Former top prospect Carter Kieboom finally gets his crack at the starting gig in 2021, but his results the past 2 years put a lot of question marks here. For catcher, Davey Martinez said that Yan Gomes should prepare to catch about 110 games this year. So the bench has some solid names. Obviously, Ryan Zimmerman's still there. They added Gerardo Parra, and they have Josh Harrison. I mean, those are solid utility guys. But, I mean, all in all, I think, they had a rather quiet offseason, coupled with the aggression from the Braves and the Mets. It makes me really hard to believe that to win the NL East. Plus 650 I'm seeing at FanDuel to win the NL East. I mean, that's juicy, especially with this team with a 1-2-3 rotation that they got. I'm going to wait and take another wait-and-see approach here. Over-under, I'm seeing 84 total wins. I got them, my projections had them winning 85 games. So that's not enough value for me there. So I'm just going to pass on this. What do you think about the Nats?
So I love everything that you just said, except that I think this is going to be the surprise team in the NL East this year. So I know the bullpen has a ton of question marks. I really do like the addition of Hand, and I really hate the addition of Hand because the Mets didn't get him. But here's my thing. You said this about John Lester. They don't need John Lester to be a 1 or a 2. They need John Lester to be the number 4. They need 9 and 8 with a 4.7 ERA. He could give them that. And he's a great veteran who's been there before. If they do get to the playoffs, or even if they get in a 1-game scenario, Lester's been there. He's won World Series. I think that was a very sleeper style addition. Now, 2 additions you mentioned, Josh Bell and Kyle Schwarber. Bell is 2 years removed from 37 home runs. Schwarber is a strikeout or home run type guy. That's okay. He also hits doubles. Now, I think you have Soto and you have Trey Turner at the top of that lineup. I think those two, just the fact that those guys are now hitting behind Turner and Soto, I think those guys are going to get better. A lot of people will try and tell you that there's no statistical evidence that guys hit better in better lineups. But yeah, Rich Aurelia hit in front of Barry Bonds his entire career, and that look at his numbers hitting in front of Barry Bonds. So let's use some common sense here. So I think Josh Bell out of Pittsburgh hitting in a lineup with Turner and Soto makes this offense actually viable. I think those two additions make the lineup deeper. You lengthen the lineup a little bit. There's no DH, so everyone in the NL is on the same playing field. So the lineup's lengthened a little bit. And I think this team with the over-under, I don't know if they're going to win the division. 650 is telling you that it's a long shot, but I think they're an 86, 87 win team. I think if the bullpen holds, just needs to be a little bit better with that rotation and the additions to this lineup, I think this team could push. They could push for the division. I'm going to tell you this right now. I'm going to probably put a small amount on them to win the division. You never know what happens. Braves, Mets get a couple injuries. This team could be off with it. They're worth it to me. That's value. Plus 650 with this lineup is value. I think people are underselling this team, and I think they're going to be a team to look out for.
Love it. All right, plus 650. I mean, it's definitely juicy. Definitely worth putting some shekels on for sure. Especially, you could start off by betting them before the season starts and then hope that the other two teams falter, and you could probably make money no matter what, Right.
You could probably cash that out at some point where you made money. I think that this division has gotten better as a whole, but as you see in baseball, things can happen. Injuries can happen. I mean, right now, Carrasco's out for the Mets. Now you have your starters going into the season are better than the Mets rotation, which is supposed to be like the crown jewel of rotations. So anything could happen. And I think if we're in an anything could happen scenario, this is a team that could sneak up on people and surprise some people.
Love it. All right, sweet. So fourth is the Phillies. You want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
No, you could take the Phillies. I'm not high on them, but you got it.
All right. So I mean, they spent $700 million to free agents the last three winters. It looked like they were going to tighten the budget this year, and then they re-signed JT Realmuto and DJ Gregorius. The lineup's solid. Rice Hoskins, Alec Bohm. They have a pair of strong producers in the middle of the lineup. Bryce, obviously, is a wrecking ball when he's healthy, but he had a nagging back injury last year. The rest of the outfield's shaky. They got aging Andrew Metuchen, who's being asked to bat first and produce. He's a year removed from ACL surgery, and he struggled defensively in 2020. Roman Quinn, Adam Hazley are the other options for outfield spots. It looks like Hazley had question marks on the defensive end last year, while Quinn has struck out a lot. So the rotation has, three solid starters, you can say. Nola, obviously, is really good, number one. Zach Wheeler has good stuff, but he has shown to get hit. And then Zach Eflin is the number three starter, and he pitched really well last year. He likes to live down in the zone, use his movement. He had a career low in ERA and struck out a career high 28% of batters last year. So the fourth slot currently has aging Matt Moore, the lefty, who is projected to have an ERA over 5. I mean, number 5 starter Vince Velasquez, he's been sidelined recently due to an oblique injury. So they have 3 starters, essentially. They have Spencer Howard, who's a young guy, but he didn't pitch well last year either. So we'll see where they go with the rest of that rotation. The bullpen was absolutely terrible in 2020. They probably single-handedly kept this team from making the playoffs. They lost 21 games in which they had a lead out of 60 last year. Bullpen ERA 7.06, worst in baseball, and the worst since 1930. You can't even make this shit up. I mean, ownership blew up the bullpen, which rightfully so. They acquired lefty Jose Alvarado from Tampa Bay, Archie Bradley from the Diamondbacks, who was slotted in to be the closer. They signed Hector Norris, and they got Brandon Kitzler, who previously pitched on the Marlins. So they tried to shore up the bullpen. We'll see where it goes. But there's a lot of ifs on this team. Does the bullpen improve? Nola, Wheeler, and Eflin are good, but what else are you getting rest out of that starting rotation? Can Harper, Hoskins, and Bohm all produce all year long? This team could surprise people, I think, if those ifs are answered. Total team is 81.5. I mean, I kind of lean over here. So last year going in, My best bet was Phillies team total under, and we cashed out. I gave that on my preview show last year, and we cashed that during the shortened season. Now, during a longer season, I think it kind of gives them a little bit of an advantage, but we'll see. And I'm seeing plus 850 on them to win the division. Really, I don't think they win the division, that's for sure, but they could sneakily get over that team total. What do you think about the Phillies?
This is my team that they have like those early 2000s Rangers team, those Rangers teams feel to it, where they're just going to score. They're just going to try to outscore people. Every game's going to be a pitch softball game. Look, they have Nola. Nola's great. There's no denying that. Wheeler can be up and down. He was great last year, but again, small sample size. He has the potential to come out and get knocked around a little bit. You have no idea. I know Eflin was good, like you said, but you have no idea what you're getting out of him for a full season. The bullpen was historically awful last year. Sure, they had Archie Bradley, great, but those three additions now, are those other guys that were in the bullpen last, are they going to be better? Even if they're marginally better, they're still terrible. So that bullpen and that pitching to me is brutal, and I think that's where I just am out. I don't like this team from that perspective. The lineup's still good, but again, like Didi's another year older, Real Muto's another year older, which I know he's still in his prime. Bohm, we don't like he was highly rated when he came up, but again, like we don't know. That's a question mark. Bryce, you're gonna get what you get from Bryce. To me, Bryce is the best player on that team. Gene Segura, his on base percentage is like lower than his batting average, so I don't even know like what we're getting there. So to me, this team, I'm going under on wins. I changed this after I was prepping for the show, doing all the analysis on the Phillies. I looked at the bullpen, I looked at the rotation, and I said, you know what? I originally first instinct was over slightly. I'm going under because I think it's like a 79-win team. I just don't think they're going to be as good as other teams in this division. I think good pitching always beats good hitting, and they don't have the pitching to hold up. They have Nola and they have Wheeler, and other than that, that's it. So like I said, very Rangers 2000s vibes or Rockies, those kind of teams vibes where it's like 15-10 or they lose 15-10. That's how I feel about this team. I'm going under. I would not even touch them to win the division. And I'm going under the wins. That's just how I feel. And I'm also biased because I really just don't like Philly in general as a Mets and Giants fan. But this is how I feel about this team, and I'm not touching them. I'm not touching them in any facet.
All right. Sounds good. All right. Before we get into Marlins, shout out to chat. Twatty Lottie, Benjamin, Eric Pelosi, Fathead, Eric Brandenburg. Appreciate you guys hanging out. Send in any questions. If you have any questions, send them in the chat. I'll try to answer them. And we appreciate you guys hanging out. Hit the like button for us. All right. So on to the fifth team, the Miami Marlins. I mean,
you're about to hit my favorite team in this division this year.
All right. So you go first, Steve.
All right. Listen, here's the thing. Let's not forget this team made the playoffs last year. I know it was a 60-game season. They still got there, which is more you could say than you could say for the Mets and the Phillies, right? And the Nats. So, look, they got there last year without their ace. Their ace, Sandy Alcantara, only pitched 7 games last year.
Yep.
Okay? I know they have question marks, but I love Alcantara. I love Sixto Sanchez. You remember that original Muto deal? Love him. Now, look, I understand there's question marks in the rest of the rotation. However, I want to go through their lineup, and this is why this is my favorite team in this division, because I told you at the beginning of this that I don't like over-under win total bets because I don't think the value's there. But if I was going to do an over-under win total bet, I'm going with the Marlins. The Marlins are at 72.5. And remember what I said earlier? I said every team's going to win 60 and every team's going to lose 60. This team can definitely win 13 more games with the way that they're structured, okay? So Corey Dickerson, Starling Marte, Adam Duvall, and Jesus Aguilar. Look, that's a solid core of veterans that everybody forgets about. They're not those 4 in a lineup with young guys like Miguel Rojas, and I really love the kid that they moved to third base, Brian Anderson. He was in the outfield. They moved him to third base. He actually came up as a third baseman originally, and I watched him a little bit in spring. He looks like he's home playing third. Like, he looks home. It's great. And Jorge Alfaro is a very underrated catcher. He had an awful year last year, but I believe the year before that, he played pretty well towards the end of the season. Look, catching's a weird position. You're either at the top, or it's either there's like 2-3 guys that are at the top, and the rest you just got to look for to place in and really not kill you. I think Jorge Alfaro is very underrated back there. I think this team, the lineup with the mix of the veterans and the young guys, and I really do like that Rojas kid. If he played against the Mets every game, he'd be in the Hall of Fame. I think this team I think they're a 75, 76 win team. I really do. I'm not saying they're going to push for the playoffs. There's just too many question marks when it comes to the pen and the rest of their rotation. But those two guys at the top of that Alcantara and Sixto Sanchez, to me, those guys are electric, and they have potential to be really, really good. This team just does not look like a team that is going to – they might finish in last, but if I'm picking the division, I'm picking them to finish ahead of the Phillies. I like their structure better. I like the lineup structure better. They have guys that, like Marte. Here's my thing. Starling Marte could steal bases. Jesus Aguilar has changed his swing completely, where he's not just looking to hit home runs. He's spraying the ball all over the field. Corey Dickerson gets on base, and Adam Duvall, there's your power guy. There's the guy that's gonna pop one over the fence. That, you add in the young guys, Brian Anderson, I think, is going to just keep improving. To me, this team is only getting better. They're my favorite over-under bet in the NL East. And I'm not touching them for the division. Let's not go crazy here. I'm not going to tell you just light money on fire for that. But maybe in season with some injuries, you get some better odds and you lay some down on them if they're making that push. But like I said, good mix of veterans and young guys in this lineup. And this is a gambling preview, and you can cash the over on 72.5 on this team. I'm telling you that right now.
Love it. All right, so we could. Steve's coming with the heat with the Miami Marlins.
Yeah, I mean, come on, man. Like, we're looking for value. All the value on the over unders is on the Marlins. I'm telling you.
All right, I like it. All right, so basically, obviously they were surprised last year. Now we get the full 162. I think the strength definitely lies in the rotation. Pablo Lopez, he was the only starter to play the whole season last year. 6-4, 3.61 ERA. Sandy Alcantara, obviously his season was shortened because of COVID, but he dominated the Cubs in the playoffs. Eliza Hernandez, who's a former Rule 5 draft pick, he went from number 5 start in the rotation to basically the most consistent arm until a lat strain cut his season short. And then Sixto Sanchez, fireballer, he got off to a really hot start. And then they do have multiple young guys to fill in the 5 slot. The bullpen lost the likes of Brad Boxberger and Kinsler. But Donnie Baseball said the late innings will depend on matchups, and he's going to use an assortment of different pitchers like Yimi Garcia, Richard Blear, Anthony Bass, and they added John Curtis, who was acquired from the Rays in a trade. They also added Adam Simber from Cleveland and Ross Detweiler via free agency, so the bullpen should be a little better. The lineup, as you mentioned, very intriguing. Slugger, Adam Duvall, then they get the returns of Marte and Aguilar, projected for 20 home runs, 75 RBIs each. Miguel Rojas, who's the longest tenure Marlin. You could call him the captain, quote unquote. And then Brian Anderson /255, 810 on base percentage last year. He's going to be the everyday third baseman. Corey Dickerson should return and should get better than last year. And then the bench, we got John Birdie on the bench, who proven to be a reliable utility man. And then Garrett Cooper basically slides to the bench with the addition of Adam Duvall. So he should be a solid power bat off the bench as well. I mean, the NL East is definitely a tough division, definitely really tough, probably might be the toughest division in the NL. This team definitely has his work cut out for them. But do I think they could beat? Probably yes. Do I think they make the playoffs? Probably not. So I'm really liking your over team total 71.5. And we got to win the division plus 3,200.
That's a lot. I can't in good faith tell people to bet that, because that's just not going to happen. But that over on the win total is juicy. I'm sorry. I love that. I look at that and I get tears of joy to my eyes.
I think you talked me into it. I'm going to make that bet tonight.
Let's go.
All right. So do you have any other so obviously I'm thinking that the Marlins is your best bet on this NL East.
Marlins are my best bet for over under win total. My long shot bet to win the division is the Nats at plus 650 because I think people are sleeping on them. I think they're going to be much improved. And then I'm still taking the Braves to win the division. I'm not laying anything on the Mets because if I put a dime on them, they'll go like 60 and like 102. But the value, like I said, like we talked earlier, the value is actually more on the Mets than the Braves. The Mets are at plus 150 and then the Braves are at plus 115. So if you're looking for value, it is more on the Mets side of things. But I'm still not going to lay money on them. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit on the Nats for the division, and I would definitely lay the juice on the plus 115 for the Braves, just because I think until somebody beats them, they're the best team in the division, and that lineup is sick. So that's the team I'm going with there. If you want the standings in order, I'm going to go Braves, Nats, Mets, Marlins, Phillies.
Wow. So, I mean, this is coming from a Mets fan, everybody. So, obviously, he took the bias and threw it right out the table. And he's picking the Mets to finish third in the NL East. So, that's pretty impressive.
Dude, the defense is scary, man. I'm telling you. The defense, I have issues with it because I have issues with the defense. People don't realize how important it is. And that, like, between third base, left field, and center field, it's not good. I'm telling you. It's going to cost DeGrom some wins. It's going to cost the team some wins.
I hear you. So, I mean, if you shop around, you can get the Braves plus 150 to win the division. So the number has moved a little bit. And I'm probably going to bet that before the season and then hope that the Mets get off to a bad start and I could get even better number on them, probably like, plus 200, plus 250. So if either of those two teams win the division, we will make money. Obviously, hopefully the Nationals don't win the division, but that's a risk I'm willing to take. And then past that, I do like Steve talked me into this Marlins team total over. I'm probably going to bet that tonight over 70.5 or 71.5, 71. If you shop around, definitely shop around for the best best price on that. And then, I guess I'm not going to touch the Phillies. I was definitely leaning over their team total over 81.5. But, another thing is I'm not really crazy about making a lot of team totals because the money's locked up for a long time. And, it's not really everything is minus 110, as Steve mentioned, or minus 120 sometimes in spots. So you can definitely get, if you don't like the team, more than likely you wait till halfway through the season, you just bet against them a lot. Or you bet, do it that way. I prefer to do it that way. But those are my looks basically for the NL East. Steve, you got anything to say before we get out of here?
Only thing I have to say is on points bet earlier, Braves plus 550 to win the NL. What are you thinking?
That's definitely intriguing. Now,
you know what else? You know what else is intriguing about that? The Mets have better odds. They're plus 525.
Yeah. What?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me. That's why the value there is on the Braves.
For sure. Yeah. How do they have that? But then they have the division odds lower.
Right. That's what it didn't make any sense to me. I was looking at this earlier. Yeah. I was still up like that. It doesn't make any sense. I'm on there right now. I mean, I guess you shop around at different books, but if you had to take, here's my question. If you had to take one of these teams, so let's talk just Braves, Mets, Nationals, right? If you had to take one of these teams to actually win the NL and go to the World Series, which one would you go?
Yeah, it's got to be the Braves. See, I'm DraftKings has them both at plus 550, Mets and Braves. So I guess it's like they're just saying once the teams make the playoffs, they're even to win the division, to win the NL. So the division, they're giving the slight edge to the Braves over 162, but then once it gets to the playoffs, it's a wash, which is kind of understandable, especially with the rotation.
Yes.
But I guess, preseason, they have to make a bet before the season. It would be in this division, it would be probably the Braves.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see where your head's at. I got to keep you on your toes, man. That's it.
Appreciate it, bro.
All good.
All right. Well, we're going to get out of here. Hit the like button for us. I really appreciate Steve hanging out with us. And had a lot of good insight from him. So maybe you'll see him again. But
thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, dude. All right, guys. I'll be back Thursday for another division preview, working on a guest. And then I got 2 more next week. So appreciate it. And then next Wednesday, me, JJ, and Holden will be doing a put together all MLB preview for everybody. But I'm excited. 9 days till baseball. Really appreciate you guys hanging out. Hit the like button and follow us on Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at Joey Work. Follow Steve on Twitter, Steve_ARMATO. All right. Peace out.